Joining me right now, we have Anderson Clayton, chair of North Carolina's Democratic Party, who's going to agree with me. It's a very important day there, and it's good to see you again. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, they are neck and neck in the polls. They are both making stops in North Carolina today. Give me a sense of the mood there with the early voting closing less than 2 hours now.
Democrats are excited and we're motivated to still get people to the polls in the last 2 hours. We've got canvass launches going on all day today with folks out knocking doors and pulling people out of their homes to get to the polls if they need to remind them that we don't want them to wait until Election Day, because we fully expect there to be lines on Election Day in North Carolina as well. But look, we know that Donald Trump being in the state as much as he is does mean that he's nervous about North Carolina, and Republicans do not win the White House this year without winning our state. So Democrats feel motivated on the ground, and we're excited to keep knocking doors and pulling out people and making sure that, to the point that was made earlier, we are having those tough conversations at the doors with voters who may be undecided still.
Yeah. And look at the early vote. More than half of North Carolina's registered voters, they've already done it. More women have turned out than men. Meanwhile, slightly more Republicans than Democrats have voted early. And then you've got the other third of voters who've cast a ballot. They are unaffiliated. What are these early voting numbers telling you?
I mean, I joke with folks right now, early vote is like doing an autopsy on a live person at this moment in time because it's still taking place. We'll have more information after Sunday and being able to look into the data more. But you also have to understand that in North Carolina, partisanship doesn't tell you everything, and how people are registered right now is, it can be misleading in some cases. A lot of folks in rural North Carolina are registered unaffiliated or registered Republican because majority of those elections there at the local level are decided at a Republican or on a Republican ballot in a primary because of the way that the county is registered. And so I think it's really important for people to understand that, also being registered as an unaffiliated in North Carolina allows you to be able to pick which ballot you go in a primary and vote on. So there's a lot of reasons why we see people and why we see the numbers that we do. And we also know that Republicans have been telling their voters over the last 2 election cycles to get out and vote early. And so we also see it's not taking away or creating new voters for the Republicans, but it's just taking away voters from their Election Day percentages. And so we still feel optimistic about unaffiliated voters too. Under 45s are definitely turning out for us right now. And so we also are looking at the fact that a lot of our unaffiliated voters who are younger are coming out for Democrats because of issues like abortion rights, housing rights this year, and wanting to make sure that, their fundamental freedoms are protected at the ballot box. So we still feel optimistic.
As you well know, the Harris campaign has poured energy into deep red countrypolitan or ex-urban areas around Charlotte and Raleigh. An Atlantic piece focused on Gastonia County, for example. That's where Donald Trump is right now. Democrats are hoping the changing demographics there could help Harris. Does it seem to be paying off?
In Gaston County, definitely, we have a lot of good county party members out there for the Democrats that have come up out of the blue recently, honestly, and are trying to make sure that there's a Democratic presence in those counties, because we know that rural communities matter this year. And North Carolina is a state that's historically won and lost on the margins. And a lot of those margins come from the fact that we used to lose rural counties, by 60-40 margins. And over the last 2 election cycles, we've been losing them by 80-20 margins. And a lot of that is just because of rural Democrats feeling like they do not have somebody at the ballot box to vote for, and that they have felt underrepresented. And, our party made a huge effort, thanks to our House and Senate caucuses, leadership from our party this year that stepped up and said, we want to contest every single state House and Senate race across North Carolina because we want to give people somebody to vote for. And so we have champions that are running, even in gerrymandered districts this year, that are making and putting in that effort for us to be able to get people to the polls, regardless of what your county might vote with.
Historically, North Carolina has voted Republican the last 3 elections, but 4 years ago, it was the state where Trump won his slimmest victory, roughly 74,000 votes or so. What will you be watching Tuesday night that will suggest a good night there for Vice President Harris?
Well, we're definitely going to be looking at places like Mecklenburg and Wake County, our 2 largest Democratic strongholds in the state, but also counties like Wilson and Nash and Edgecombe in the northeastern part of the state, and even counties out in the west like Buncombe and Transylvania and Jackson counties too, and looking at pulling back some of our Democratic strongholds in the west. Hopefully, Transylvania County and Buncombe County right now are outperforming statewide averages for early vote totals, and so or statewide early vote totals, and so we're really paying attention to how the west is operating and places where our Democrats are still have political power in them.
Given this interview and all that you've given us, clearly chair of North Carolina's Democratic Party. It's good to see you, Anderson Clayton. Thank you so much. Best of luck.